out, oh, they blocked me from my Facebook page. These are actual legitimate cash blunders and gifts that he took at our expense. And then we paid $150,000 for him to be convicted at our expense. I refuse to believe that we're not going to send Cory Gardner back. The man who brought the BLM here to Grand Junction, the man who brought Space Force to Colorado Springs, the man who protects our water on our lands. And he finished a project that was started by John F. Kennedy in 1962. And he's the only guy who could get it done. Get out, make calls, make sure that you're calling and telling people to turn out for Cory. We need him back in the Senate. Yes. Our next speaker is going to be Janice Rich. If I can find her. Where is she? Right. At the West. And it's frightening, but I'm declaring this a protest. Which we're free to do what we want to do. This is America. The next speaker I'm going to introduce has represented us in House District 54, which is the district I live in. He's got about a 9,000 vote advantage in turn-ins. There's no question he's going back to Denver. He's done a great job for us, Matt Soper.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Mesa County. It's great to be here today. You know, we're going to win, and we're going to win bigly tomorrow. But I do want to let you in on a statistic that I've heard recently. Of those who have committed to vote, 20% will have their ballot sitting on the kitchen table after the polls close. Don't be part of the 20%. But most importantly, make sure your friends and your neighbors are not part of the 20%. Make sure they get their ballots in today, preferably, but tomorrow definitely before 7 p.m.
My friend, I had to laugh Saturday in the newspaper. I'm reading how Lauren's over in Pueblo, and she, oh my God, she went to Colorado Springs and campaigned up there, and it's not even in her district. And I'm like, well, that's because Lauren's a superstar and could draw voters for all of our candidates. And thank God she went up to Colorado Springs, because we need that effort in Colorado Springs if we're going to get Cory elected. Woo! Lauren has changed the outlook of Western Colorado in 10 months. 10 months. She has changed everything, and she is fantastic. She is a superstar. And the figures I saw today, we've got about a 16,500 vote turn-in advantage in CD3. So I know the votes aren't counted, and I don't want to jinx her, but let me introduce to you Congresswoman Lauren Boebert.
Thank you, Kevin. It's an honor to have you as my friend. Thank you so much for the way you serve Mesa County. Your leadership is exceptional, it's exemplary, and out of the 29 counties that we have here, I've never seen so much love in a leader's heart for the people that you signed up to serve. So thank you, Kevin. Mesa County, here we are! One day to victory. This is so amazing. All the work that you have put in, we're going to see those results tomorrow. We're going to see the days, the weeks, the months, the efforts, the tears, the hard work, the resources, everything that you have committed to this election. We will see those results in a big, big way tomorrow. I got to tell you all, it has been such an honor to work with you, to get to know you. You've invited me into your homes, into your families, into your conversations, into your places of business, into your everyday lives. You talk about the importance of this election because you love your country, because you love your community, because you love our children and our children's children. You know the importance of their future. It's because of your work that we are going to have this victory tomorrow. You know, I started out just as a small business owner 7 years ago, I was a mom and I wanted to find a way to give back to my community. I had been serving at the Garfield County Jail for several years. That's not when I got my mugshot. But I had been counseling at-risk women, and these women were at low points in their life, and most without hope. But every Sunday, I was able to go into that jail, and I was able to bring these women hope for a second chance at life. I was able to go into this jail and personally introduce these women into the God who turns shame into glory, who could restore whatever they had been through, whatever their past looked like. And he had a plan for their future. And I opened my business because I wanted to be a part of God's plan in their life. We wanted to give back to our community. So we opened Shooter's Grill. And we began to create opportunities for people. I was able to serve my community at a different level. And it was such an honor to have people come in empty. And I wouldn't just fill them up with food. We had the opportunity to fill their souls with joy, renew their spirits. People opened their lives in my restaurant. Hearts were changed, minds were changed, lives were transformed. And then, suddenly there was a tyrannical governor that was elected. And I saw how many lives were being destroyed. After I had spent years building lives up, seeing people successful when they didn't think they ever could be, providing for families. And then Governor Polis came in and started ripping opportunities away from people. Started shredding the United States Constitution up in your faces. The Colorado State Constitution, all of it. And then we got to work together. And my capacity began to expand. My influence began to expand because I was working with you, shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow, just trying to save our electoral college votes. We all saw the need for that, and we all got to work. We, the people, got together. And now we have the National Popular Vote Compact, and we can save our votes for president. During that time, I saw good people who were frustrated, even angry. People who desired to live a quiet and peaceable life. And I believe that frustration was leading us into where God was calling us. We couldn't just sit by idly and be content and tolerate what we were seeing. That frustration was driving us to be a part of the solution. So, when Democrats slipped up and told us exactly what they planned to do with our firearms, with your Second Amendment right, that frustration led me to Aurora, Colorado, to confront a presidential candidate, just a citizen, a mom, taking a stand for the Constitution of the United States. And I went down there with my Glock on my hip, and I looked Robert Francis O'Rourke in the eye, and I told him, hell no, you're not going to take our guns. And I did that because I didn't see many other people doing it. I didn't see enough people standing for freedom. But I saw a whole lot of people giving your freedoms away. And I wanted to be the change that I wanted to see. I wanted to be a part of the solution. So I entered into this congressional race. In Mesa County, this has been such an amazing journey. You all have believed in me. You have all supported me and had my back from the beginning. We've already seen tremendous victories. We have the President of the United States focused on our district, on our part of Colorado. When I had the opportunity to meet President Trump, he asked me about you because he cares about you. He was asking how the BLM headquarters, Bureau of Land Management headquarters, was affecting you because he cares. He was asking about your energy. He said, how's that Jordan Cove pipeline coming for you? Because he knows that his administration had a part in furthering the approval of that. President President Trump is not a politician. He's a businessman. He's a family man. He loves America, and he loves you. President Trump has pioneered the way. He's been a trailblazer for people who are not politicians to step up, take a stand, and serve their country. We are seeing people take this stand more than ever. We're seeing record numbers, even in women who are stepping up to serve their country. The GOP used to have 44 women. That was their record of women who won the primary. Now we're at 93. Having women in office is nothing to dishonor our men. You do not give someone value by devaluing another person. Men, we need you in this. But I believe that there's something brewing in America. There's something stirring in the hearts of American women. For the past 4 years, we've seen these other girls from the squad and women, moms. We're looking at our children that we are raising up in our homes, and we're concerned about the direction that they are leading our country. And we are standing up and saying, those women do not represent me. They do not represent the America I know and love. They do not represent the country I'm sending my children out into. And so now we're doing our part to serve our country. And I need you to step out for one more day. I need you to be bold. I need you to share that message that's on the inside of you. People are searching for answers, and the answers are on the inside of you. So for one more day, I need you to reach out, encourage people, let them know that their vote matters, that their voice needs to be heard in this election. The silent majority is silent no more, because we know if we remain silent, we lose by default. We will not sit back and let government happen to us, because then we will have the government that we deserve. President Ronald Reagan said that freedom is always one generation away from extinction. I believe we are that generation that he was talking about. And that's why we need to stand now more than ever. We need to work harder than we have ever worked in this next day to secure this election, to secure freedom, to secure America. I want to let you in on one little story before I go. I was in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago, and there was this very productive, well-connected woman who set up some meetings for me. I was meeting with some lobbyists. I know here that's a 4-letter word. But in these meetings, everybody wanted to know why. Why did you decide to run for Congress? I said, well, I'm not a politician. I just got fed up. I got fed up with government thinking they know how to run our lives better than we do. I let them know that I was a mom, raising 4 boys to love America, raising 4 boys to be men. I have my oldest son here with me today, Tyler. He is one of the reasons that I'm here fighting for us. My children's freedom is my motivation. I talk to these lobbyists about being a business owner, how government, thinking they know best, coming in and over-regulating, kills small businesses. I talked about the frustration of electing people who swear to uphold the Constitution, to secure our rights. Too often go to D.C., forget who they work for. They overregulate and overtax and overspend and ultimately destroy everything you and I are building here at home. During these meetings, they asked about my opponent. And I said, well, her policies should disqualify her. She wants to shut down our energy industry. She has a work-to-welfare economic plan. When her policies drive our energy industry out of here, she has a government program waiting for those guys. Talked about universal health care, how she's been on the record for years supporting that. We talked about all the lies. We talked about the personal attacks. But all of these conversations always came back to you. They want to know what you're saying. What are the people in Colorado most concerned about? What's on their minds? What are they coming up and telling you about? And I'd say freedom. Everyone is worried about losing their freedom, because if America loses her freedom, there's nowhere else to go. Now, the woman who set up these meetings, she got a little frustrated with me. She slammed her hand on the table and she said, "Don't you have anything other than freedom to talk about?" Now, I don't know what kind of DC bubble she lives in, and I don't speak DC double talk. But you can have all the policy discussion you want. Without freedom, what good does it do you? Freedom is what this election is about. Freedom is on the ballot. America herself is on the ballot. And that's exactly what you and I are fighting for. We have the most righteous, the most God-fearing president that this country has ever seen. The most pro-life president this country has ever seen. And we need to do our part to make sure he gets 4 more years. Senator Cory Gardner keeps his seat. We need to keep our districts red. We need to remove politicians and raise up righteous men and women who will lead our country. I want to thank you all so much for sticking with me through this. And I promise you, I will always stand by your side. I will always fight for what's right for you. I will never let you down. Thank you all so much, and God bless you, Mesa County.
Thank you. Good evening, Mesa County. How you doing? Are you guys ready to win tomorrow?
Yeah.
Are you ready to send Lauren Boebert to the United States House of Representatives?
Yeah.
Are you ready for her to say, "Hi, Nancy, how you doing?" Are you ready to make sure that we keep President Donald Trump in the White House? Are you ready to make sure we keep Chuck Schumer's cold hands off of Colorado?
Yeah.
We got to get the job done, Mesa County, and it starts right here in this Western Slope corridor of freedom. Now, Lauren talked about the sacrifices that all of you have made. You've done so much for our state to help us make sure we have victory tomorrow. You've made phone calls, you've knocked on doors, you've shown up at rallies, you've told your neighbors, you've told your friends, and you all have voted, right?
Yeah.
All right. I know there may be 1 or 2 that haven't. Lauren and I will wait for you to go do that now, all right? We'll wait. 10 minutes, that's all you got. But we need you to vote. Get out and vote. Make sure your neighbors vote. Make sure your coworkers vote. Get them out and vote, because it matters. November 4th is too late. Lauren talked about how you've given your blood, your sweat, your tears. Hell, you've given up your appendixes apparently for this race. We got to make sure we win this race. Now, I called the president this morning, had a chat with the president about where I was going to be in Western Colorado. And the important thing is, of course, that Western Colorado do exactly what Kevin said you've done. And Kevin, give him another round of applause for the great job you continue to do. Is to make sure that we turn up for the state of Colorado, because we win big here, we win statewide. Now, you think about the challenges the president has been up against. You think about that. You know, I don't know if you saw the latest CNN interview a while back, but he was talking about that time that, do you remember when he met with the Pope in Florida? He met with the Pope in Florida. It was really windy outside, and the Pope's hat blew off into the water. And the president walked across the water to get the hat from the Pope. And he walked back across the water to give the hat back to the Pope. And CNN ran the story, Trump can't swim. All right? It is incredible the challenges that he has faced. Look, we have to make sure that the stakes of this election are known. Over the last 6 years, we've opened up the Bureau of Land Management headquarters right here in Grand Junction. We've returned Anvil Point's energy dollars to Mesa County in Western Colorado. We've opened up the Arkansas Valley Conduit. We've created the biggest tax cuts in modern history that grew our economy. We're going to expand energy development, and we're going to make sure that those jobs and those programs and policies that will lead to the opening of Jordan Cove create jobs right here in Grand Junction, Colorado. But you know what? We can't do it with Joe Biden in the White House.
No, we can't.
We can't do it with John Hickenlooper in the Senate.
No, we can't.
No.
We sure as heck can't do it with Mitch Bush in the U.S. House of Representatives.
No.
Why can't we do it? Because they are going to fire every single oil and gas worker in the state. They've said they would. 230,000 people out of work. They've said that they would increase taxes at the most historic level this country has ever seen. That's what they're campaigning on. Imagine the things they're not telling us that they would do. Look, I met several years ago with a gentleman by the name of Donald Stratton. Now, Some of you may have heard of Donald Stratton. Most of you probably haven't. Donald Stratton was a World War II veteran who lived in Colorado Springs. And on December 7th, 1941, Donald Stratton was on the USS Arizona when it was bombed that morning at Pearl Harbor. Donald Stratton and 5 of his fellow sailors on the tower, one of the towers of the USS Arizona. As the ship was inflamed, out of the middle of the smoke and the flames were all around them, they noticed a rope had been thrown up to that tower. They tied that rope to the rail and they shimmied across the USS Arizona onto the USS Vestal, where a man named Joe George had thrown that line to save their life. Now, Joe George disobeyed a direct order. He wasn't supposed to do it. He was supposed to cut the line because his commanding officer believed that if they didn't cut that line, that ship would go down with the Arizona. But his heroic actions allowed 6 people to be saved. And when I talked to Donald Stratton about that moment, about what had happened to him, you know what he said to me? It was an answer that I never thought that I'd get. I thought I'd get something different. But he looked at me and says, well, Cory, everybody had to be somewhere that morning. Well, it's not exactly, I don't think I could have done it. He says, yeah, you could have, because maybe you would have been the one that had to be there. But I say that today because on the eve of the most important election of our lifetime, you had to be somewhere too. And you chose to be here. You chose to stand together as patriots, as freedom's foot soldiers, as people who will send Washington, D.C. a strong message that our freedoms, our liberty, our Constitution, our way of life matters. That it is about a future where we know we are empowered, not the government, that we, the people, lead this nation, not for the government, not because of the government, but because of the people who are here in Mesa County and the people of Western Colorado who understand what's at stake. Now, I think this may be the last, it could be, if we don't get this right, the last most important election of our lifetime. Now, what do I mean by that? We're going to have elections again. I'm not saying we're never going to have elections again. But Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi want to do things that we may never be able to undo if we let them. They want to destroy the Electoral College. They want to add states to the Senate so that they can create a perpetual majority. So when they eliminate the filibuster, they can pack the courts, socialize medicine, take our guns. That's exactly what they said they would do. I'm not making this up.
Right.
Look, we have to make sure that we get out. If you know somebody hasn't voted, get them out and vote. The stakes are too high. You know, late at night, one night I was leaving the Capitol building. And it was a late night at votes. I think it was midnight, 1 in the morning. And I went down to the first level of the Capitol. And for those of you who've been there, you'll probably know the area that I'm talking about. But I went outside the halls and out the corridor that was right below the House of Representatives. And in that area of the Capitol, you can go through and see these beautiful murals on the wall about important points in our country's history. And you'll see some phrases and sayings that our founding fathers left for us to be guided by. And as I was approaching one corridor where I knew I needed to turn to get out of the building, I could hear voices, I could hear people talking. And I thought, oh, maybe it's one of these midnight tours that somebody will do. And so as I entered that corridor, I turned and looked, and sure enough, it was a Capitol tour guide wearing one of the red jackets. And I saw that he was pointing at a phrase that was painted on the wall. And I'll read that phrase to you, because I took a moment and I looked up at what he was talking about. And this particular painting said, "Our government, conceived in freedom and purchased with blood, can be preserved only by constant vigilance." And I looked down, and you know who was with him on that tour? Was a young soldier who had just returned from Iraq, who'd had both of his legs amputated. No one understands the constant vigilance and the blood that this nation was purchased more than the men and women who have served our country. And we owe it to every single one of them to make sure that we fight like hell for this country tomorrow, that we get out there, we win, we keep the White House, we keep the Senate, we take the House back, and we make this great lady right here, Nancy Pelosi's worst nightmare. Let's make it happen.